señorita? Ya. Español, por favor. Español. Ok. Segunda consola de español. Ok, vamos con inglés. English. No hay nadie en cabina en inglés.
Clarita, no hay nadie en inglés.
Ahí va, la de español va para inglés. Un segundo, Ernesto.
Nada, todavía.
Ahora, está sentándose. Okay.
Testing the microphone, but I don't have an earphone on yet. You could just tell me if you can hear me on the English channel by nodding, please. Can you hear testing? Or maybe I... Testing English, yeah? Testing. Okay, this is the English channel. Testing English channel. Good morning. Having the Secretariat having verified the quorum, I hereby call to order this first regular session of the Permanent Council, the first of this year, 2026. I'd like to take the opportunity to once again wish all of you a happy and prosperous New Year. In each of your different places and countries, we now recall the struggles of the peasant farmers, the peasant communities, where we were born, where I was born. This little small bus is how the peasants travel to their villages, and therefore it is what is used to take their market goods. And this has an important meaning, the peasant struggles, those who bring food to our tables. And so this is my way of greeting all of you and to begin our work in accordance with Article 43 of the Rules of Procedure. I hereby submit to you for your consideration the draft order of business for this meeting, which is document CP/OD-2577 of 25. If there are no observations, we approve the agenda, the order of business in this first regular session, chaired by Colombia. I'd like to reiterate the principles and objectives of the work plan that will guide our work in this quarter. Colombia reaffirms its commitment to the charter of the organization and the rules of the Council, guaranteeing that it will conduct the meetings in an impartial, transparent, and respectful manner based on dialogue, multilateralism, and mutual respect. Our work plan, which was circulated in a timely manner to all the missions, prioritizes the strengthening of democracy, the promotion and protection of human rights, peace building, and reducing inequalities, consolidating the Permanent Council as an inclusive forum for dialogue and political consensus building. We will give impetus to a comprehensive approach to regional challenges, promoting the participation of civil society, the inclusion generally, the defense of the human rights of women, gender equity, and protection for persons in vulnerable circumstances, as well as the tie link among human rights, the environment, and sustainable development. In addition, we'll strengthen the Permanent Council's role in following up on the mandates from the member states, fostering transparency, effective participation, and dialogue with the various actors of the organizations, including relations with the observers. I thank you as of now for the support and cooperation of all the delegations during this period, and I trust that working together we will see specific gains for the well-being of our peoples and the future of the Americas. Now, turning to another matter, I would also like to take this opportunity to extend our sincere congratulations to the people and government of Haiti on the occasion of the celebration of its national holiday, which was last January 1st. The Permanent Council of the OAS reiterates its commitment to closely follow the situation that this sister nation is going through, reaffirming our hemispheric solidarity and our accompaniment for of the efforts that Haiti continues making for stability and the well-being and advancement of its people. Next, I'm honored to turn over on behalf of the Permanent Council, or to deliver on behalf of the Permanent Council, the commemorative gavel to our colleague and friend, Ambassador Tomás Pascual, Permanent Representative of Chile, who chaired the Permanent Council during the last quarter of 2025. During this period, Tomás Pascual, Ambassador, conducted the work of the Council in a dedicated, transparent, and equitable manner, a fair manner, fostering a constructive dialogue based on cooperation, efficiency, and the participation of all actors of the organization, which made it possible to jointly tackle the challenges facing our region, always with an approach characterized by mutual respect and hemispheric responsibility. to recognize his excellent work. I'm honored to turn over this commemorative gavel as a sign of our gratitude and appreciation. Thank you very much, Ambassador Pascual, for your effort, dedication, and commitment, and I ask you to come forward to receive this recognition.
Antes de pasar al
Before moving on to the next item on the order of business, I ask if the Council would like to grant exceptional dispensation to the time limit as provided for in Article 46 of the Rules of Procedure, mindful of the requests that have been submitted by the following delegations. 12 minutes to the delegation of Haiti for item 3 of the order of business. 7 minutes to the delegation of Mexico for item 4 on the order of business. And 7 minutes for the delegation of Antigua and Barbuda for item 3 on the order of business. If there's no objection, it is so agreed. As the next item on our order of business, it is an honor to most cordially welcome once again to the Permanent Council Ambassador Rodolfo Coronado Molina, Permanent Representative of Peru. He presented his credentials to the Secretary General last 5 January. Ambassador Coronado is a career diplomat who has been in the diplomatic service for almost 3 decades. He's held high-level positions in the Ministry of Foreign Relations and has worked at the embassies of Peru in the United States and Chile, as well as serving as General Counsel of Peru in Houston. At the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Peru, he's been Chief of Staff to the Minister, Chief of the Regional, of the General Communications Office, Chief of Staff for the Vice or Deputy Foreign Minister, and Deputy Director for the OAS and Hemispheric Affairs, among other positions. The ambassador is an attorney with his degree from the Pontificia Universidad Católica of Peru, the Catholic University, and he also has a master's in international public policy from the School for Advanced International Studies of Johns Hopkins University right here in Washington, D.C. Ambassador Coronado, we most cordially welcome you to the Permanent Council, and you now have the floor.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Señor presidente.
Thank you very much, Chair, Chairman, Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General, dear colleagues. I would simply like to reiterate my profound gratitude for the welcome that I have received since I got here about 3 weeks ago. From the first day and since then, I've had the opportunity to get to meet many of you, my dear colleagues, and I will continue to do so. From the first day, I have become familiar with and have felt the intense work here at the OAS. And I would merely like to reiterate once again my country's commitment and the commitment of the mission that I preside over with my team to contribute to strengthening hemispheric multilateralism, the safeguarding and protection of democracy and human rights, and our full commitment to the inter-American human rights system, the rule of law, and all of the fundamental principles of this organization established in its charter. And so just to say that I'm committed to working and cooperating jointly, and you can count on the full support of our mission. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ambassador, for your words. And I now offer the floor to the coordinators of the regional groups and all other delegations that wish to extend words of welcome to the permanent representative of Peru. Chile is recognized. Thank you very much, Chair, I take this opportunity to extend greetings to the Secretary General, the Assistant Secretary General, and the full team of the Secretariat on behalf of the group of 10. I'm pleased to welcome Ambassador Coronado, who has recently taken on his position as ambassador of and permanent representative of Peru to the OAS. Ambassador Coronado is a career diplomat who has been working for the Peruvian state in diplomacy for almost 30 years. Throughout this period, he has served bilaterally and multilaterally. He has also had management and advice functions at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Peru, which means that he has solid experience that will back him in work at this organization. He has worked in the political areas of the embassies of Peru in the United States and Chile, and he has also worked as or served as general counsel or Consul General in Houston, as the chair said. This experience, both in Washington and throughout the region, has allowed him to take stock directly of the political, institutional, and diplomatic dynamics that impact the inter-American work and that are very important for the work of this council. In addition, prior to joining the foreign ministry, he did work on elsewhere on the inter-American system, and this gave him a practical knowledge of this organization as well as the challenges faced in the hemispheric agenda. We value the commitment expressed by Peru and by Ambassador Coronado, in particular, with the principles and pillars of the OAS, particularly representative democracy, human rights, hemispheric security, and integral development. Ambassador Coronado has come to the organization at a complex moment in international and regional situation in which multilateralism faces significant challenges. Here, the active, responsible, and principles-based participation of the member states is fundamental for the effective work of this organization. Ambassador Coronado, we welcome you to this council, and we wish you the best of success in your new position. We trust that your initiatives will contribute constructively to the work of the OAS. Thank you, Coordinator, for the Group of 10, and I now give the floor to the Dominican Republic. Thank you very much, Chair. I extend greetings to the Secretary General and the Assistant Secretary General. I'm honored to take the floor in the name of the delegations of Belize, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Panama, and my own delegation in order to welcome Ambassador Rodolfo Coronado Molina, who is taking on his position as permanent representative of Peru to this organization. The incorporation of Ambassador Coronado into the work of this permanent council is happening at a time of special relevance for the inter-American system in a hemispheric context marked, as has already been indicated, by complex challenges and growing demands for cooperation. Peru's diplomatic tradition and experience is a valuable contribution to strengthen the political dialogue and in the search for consensus. Peru has historically played an active role in promoting the principles that undergird this organization, including the defense of democracy, respect for the rule of law, protection of human rights, and giving impetus to integral development. In this regard, we trust that his participation will contribute to improving our deliberations and strengthening areas for forums for regional consensus building. The countries that I represent today share a common view on the importance of multilateralism, effective multilateralism, and respect for international law as fundamental tools for getting along in the hemisphere for hemispheric coexistence. We reiterate our willingness to work constructively with Ambassador Coronado, fostering respectful exchange geared to results that benefit our peoples. Ambassador Coronado Molina, I extend to you a warm welcome to this organization. We wish you productive work, and we trust that your work will make a positive contribution to the work of the Permanent Council and to strengthening the inter-American system as a whole. Thank you very much. Thank you, Coordinator. And St. Kitts and Nevis has the floor.
Good day, distinguished excellencies and delegations, Secretary General Ramdin, Assistant Secretary General Hill. On behalf of the member states of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, it is my distinct honor as Ambassador of St. Kitts and Nevis to warmly welcome you, Ambassador Coronado, to this council and to congratulate you on your appointment as permanent representative of Peru to the OAS. We note with appreciation your distinguished career in diplomacy and public service, marked by nearly 3 decades of dedicated work in the Foreign Service of Peru, including your leadership roles within the ministry, your service in the key bilateral postings, and your academic preparation in law and international public policy. Excellency, your experience in hemispheric affairs and your prior engagement with the work of the organization provide a strong foundation for your new responsibilities and for the valuable contributions you will undoubtedly make to our collective deliberations. CARICOM states highly value Peru's long-standing commitment to multilateralism, democracy, human rights, and regional cooperation. We therefore look forward to working closely with you and your delegation in the Permanent Council and its subsidiary bodies as we pursue a stronger, more responsive, and more relevant OAS, one that effectively addresses the challenges facing our hemisphere and advances the shared aspirations of our peoples. In this spirit, we place on record our sincere desire to collaborate with you in promoting a hemisphere of peace and security, where democratic institutions are strengthened, social and economic development is advanced, and the well-being and prosperity of all our citizens are safeguarded. Your Excellency, we once again extend our congratulations and best wishes for every success in your tenure. Please be assured of the full support and cooperation of CARICOM states as you assume your important duties, and of our confidence that together we will continue to work constructively for a more united, stable, and thriving Americas. Thank you.
Gracias, embajador.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Canada is recognized. Thank you very much, Chair. On behalf of Canada, I'm delighted to give you a very warm welcome, Ambassador Coronado, in your new role as permanent representative of Peru at the OAS. We are delighted to have the chance to work hand in hand with you over the next several years, Ambassador. Your long, rich experience in your diplomatic service, as well as your experience regionally as well as bilaterally, will certainly be precious assets as we work toward our priorities here at the OAS.
Amongst Canada's partners, Peru stands out not only as a friend, but as a trusted and reliable partner. Both our countries have significant indigenous populations, are rich in natural resources, and share a commitment to democracy. Indeed, the Inter-American Democratic Charter, which saw its official blessing at the Summit of Quebec, was finalized in Lima, Peru. Together, we recognize that engaging global challenges like the future of AI, rising global temperatures, global migration, and hybrid threats to international security require new approaches and stronger cooperation. In this spirit, we are pleased to collaborate with Peru and other members of the OAS, but Peru in particular through the OAS Working Group on Cyber Cooperation and Confidence Building Measures. We look forward to working with your team and yourself, Ambassador Coronado, to address these and other shared priorities. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Gracias,
Thank you very much, Ambassador.
Estados Unidos.
United States.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On behalf of the United States, I'm pleased to extend a warm welcome to Ambassador Rodolfo Coronado Molina as he assumes his duties as permanent representative of Peru to the Organization of American States. The United States values its strategic partnership with Peru, grounded in shared democratic values, strong people-to-people ties, security cooperation, and the robust trade relations under the U.S.-Peru Trade Promotion Agreement. We look forward to working closely with Peru here at OAS to advance practical cooperation that supports economic growth, citizen security, and the democratic stability across the hemisphere. This year, as the United States and Peru mark 200 years of diplomatic relations, we are reminded of the strength of our bilateral relationship and of Peru's enduring commitment to liberty and self-determination. Ambassador Coronado, congratulations on your appointment. You can count on the United States as a constructive partner in our hemisphere as we engage together in this council and across the work of the organization. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Uruguay is recognized. Thank you, Chair. Greetings to the Secretary General, the ASG, the Secretary of Legal Affairs, and on behalf of the delegation of Uruguay, I'd like to give you a very warm welcome to the new Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Peru, Rodolfo Coronado Molino. I'd like to congratulate him for his new post, and we are certain that his vast recognized diplomatic experience, both bilaterally and multilaterally, his professional experience and his own training in law will be important contributions to the work of this organization. Peru and Uruguay have long-standing friendly relations based on shared principles, and similarly, our countries face shared challenges, such as climate change, the fight against transnational organized crime, and economic recovery with equity. Our countries have deepened our bilateral relations since 2008 with the adoption of a strategic partnership agreement, which includes mechanisms for cooperation and dialogue, as well as through negotiations underway aimed at expanding the scope of this trade relation. Finally, Chair, I'd like to reiterate to the Ambassador that we are fully willing to working hand in hand with him in the framework of this organization in areas of shared interest in order to continue strengthening our work and sustainable development for our people. Thank you very much.
Gracias, embajador.
Thank you, Ambassador. Panama. Thank you very much, Chair. With the wishes of the Dominican Republic and Central American Group, I'm honored to speak on behalf as well as the representative of Panama to give a warm welcome to Rodolfo Coronado Molina as the permanent representative of the Republic of Peru to the OAS. Ambassador Coronado, it is a pleasure to receive you at this House of the Americas, and your outstanding experience and long diplomatic career and career in public service, as well as your vast experience bilaterally and multilaterally, will be a valuable contribution to the work carried out in this OAS. Your understanding of regional challenges and commitment to dialogue and cooperation are the harbinger of enriching our debates here at the OAS. And Peru has historically been dedicated to the principles that sustain the inter-American system, defending democracy, respect for the rule of law, and promoting and protecting human rights, as well as seeking comprehensive sustainable development for our people. We staunchly believe that under your representation, Peru will continue to actively contribute to strengthening multilateralism and building consensus as necessary to address our shared challenges faced by our region. Panama and Peru have a robust bilateral relationship which continues to strengthen based on historical, cultural, and human ties. Throughout the years, both countries have worked hand in hand in many different regional and multilateral fora, driving initiatives in areas such as trade, technical cooperation, regional integration, education, and culture. This relationship is also sustained on shared values and a shared vision on the importance of cooperation as a pillar for development and stability for our nations. At the OAS, Panama places great value on the close coordination that Peru has maintained in priority areas of the hemispheric agenda, including democratic governance, multidimensional security, equal opportunities, as well as care for the most vulnerable populations. We reiterate our willingness to continuing to work jointly, and we strongly believe that respectful dialogue and solidarity and cooperation are essential tools for building more inclusive and fair societies. Ambassador, we wish you most success in your new endeavors, and we are certain that your work will continue to be a significant contribution to strengthening this organization and the well-being of our people. count on the full willingness of the Permanent Mission of Panama to contribute closely and constructively during your time here. And finally, Ambassador, we wish you a very warm welcome as we begin a new chapter with the Permanent Representative of Peru at the OAS. Thank you.
Embajadora,
Thank you, Ambassador. Argentina. Thank you very much, Chair. I will be brief. First of all, I would like to reiterate that I echo what was stated by the Group of 10, the Ambassador of Chile, and it is difficult to not ask for the floor to salute and give a warm welcome to my dear friend, Ambassador Coronado Molina. First of all, due to the robust friendship, solidarity, and cooperation that we enjoy between our two countries. And dear Rodolfo, certainly we will be working on teams together as we face the major challenges faced by our region at this conjuncture. We will continue to work as we have in the past and as we will continue to do in the future. We are destined to continue working side by side, building friendship, cooperation, and solidarity between our countries and our peoples. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, Ambassador. The Ambassador of Peru has requested the floor.
deseamos entonces al embajador Coronado.
We wish you most success, Ambassador, as the representative of Peru to the OAS. And we will now move on to item 3. Welcome to the Ambassador Jean-Pierre, the permanent representative of Haiti. Jean-Josué Pierre. It's an honor to give you a very warm welcome to this permanent council as the permanent representative of Haiti to Jean-Josué Pierre, who has presented his credentials to the Secretary General today, Wednesday, January 21st. Ambassador Pierre is a career diplomat with a long history working in Haiti's foreign service, and over the last 10 years he has held important positions abroad, including as ambassador of Haiti in France and Switzerland, permanent representative to the International Organization of the Francophonie, as well as at the board of the University Council of the Francophonie. He has also been Director of Cabinet and Minister of Council at the Permanent Mission of Haiti to the OAS. Before joining the diplomatic service of Haiti, he was a professor of international relations and history of ideas and philosophy and politics at the State University of Haiti. Academically, Ambassador Pierre has studied philosophy and the doctoral level, both political philosophy as well as a diploma in advanced studies at the University of Paris for La Sorbonne. And he also has a master's in international relations, cooperation, and development jointly with the University of Ohio. Ambassador Pierre, we give you a very warm welcome as the permanent representative of Haiti, and we give you the floor. Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, Secretary General, Madam ASG, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, permanent representatives and ambassadors, interim representatives, observer states, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to represent my country, Haiti, at the first regional organization of the Americas, the OAS, which is an organization of which Haiti was a founding member, and I feel deeply grateful toward the authorities of my country, as today I fully assume my functions as the permanent representative of Haiti to the OAS. I also feel a great sense of responsibility and lucid faith in the future, as I serve the interests of my country while also defending, in partnership with other states of the OAS, the most precious treasures of our continent, that is peace, security, fundamental rights, development, and democracy. I have always seen the OAS as a forum for open dialogue and discussion for all states of the region, as a great school of democracy, and today more than ever. I staunchly believe that we need this multilateral instrument for dialogue between the peoples of the hemisphere. And that is why, on behalf of the Republic of Haiti, I solemnly reiterate our commitment to the values on which this regional organization has been built. That is democracy, human rights, comprehensive development, and multidimensional security. Chair. By speaking of the tenets underlying the OAS, I must note that these pillars are such a challenge that my country needs to overcome. Haiti has, for decades now, struggled with a complex economic situation and political situation, and more recently, we have been beset by an extremely serious security context. In order to act effectively as we respond to these challenges, we must understand the underlying causes of this multidimensional crisis that has lasted for far too long. Chair, it is 2026, and more exactly this year, on February 7th, we will be commemorating the 40th anniversary of the true leap toward change in Haiti. In fact, it was February 7th, 1986, as we made that unprecedented leap toward representative democracy, where the people of Haiti said no to the savage regime of the Duvaliers. It was a glimmer of hope and renewal that shone in our hearts and spirits. Democracy, development, security, human rights were the various facets of this great aspiration and renewal of the Haitian people. The OAS was already mobilized, standing at our sides and actively contributing to the recovery of our nation. And yet, 40 years later, we must accept that the fruits don't always hold the promise that they once did. After 4 decades of transition toward democracy, we still have not yet reached the promised land. Quite the contrary. Today, our country is facing a crisis that is a challenge for every structural pillar of the inter-American system, that is democracy, security, development, and others. Certainly, we need to take the time to carry out an autopsy of this multidimensional failure in Haiti, and let us be clear. The guilt here falls on Haitians themselves, and we must accept that with seriousness. Yes, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. And yet, we all in this region and at the OAS carry part of that historic responsibility. Just as often, when it comes to the Haitian question, we make mistakes on every veritable challenge. And we have put forth so much effort toward addressing the issue of representative democracy, but not when it comes to improving the economic conditions for the most vulnerable. And the result is a constant imbalance between democracy and economic development. For over a quarter of a century now, maybe more, data from the World Bank only shed light on some of the highest inequality rates in the world in Haiti today. As I'm speaking to you, sitting here, the inflation rate is over 25%. Almost 5 million people face acute food insecurity. Unemployment is over 40%. The Haitian economy is in recession. Rather, our economy is seeing negative growth, and this has been the case for 7 years now. Almost 40% of our population lives in extreme poverty. Chair. I am bringing up these figures simply to underscore the complexity of Haiti and share that the problem to be solved is also an equation of security and development as it is representative democracy. Therefore, we need a multifaceted strategic plan of action, and that is why we salute the joint initiative of the OAS and Haitian authorities, which led to drafting a roadmap for stability and peace in Haiti. We are, in fact, delighted that this roadmap is in line with our national priorities, notably, and first of all, security and improving living conditions in Haiti. When it comes to the method, we hold very dear that sequenced integrated actions coordinated with urgent actions and structural reforms will progress at the same time, and they are more necessary than ever. And with this in mind, please allow me to reiterate the appeal of the President of the Transitional Council, His Excellency Laurent Saint-Cyr, and I quote, "We are appealing to our international partners, multilateral agencies, and investors. Haiti is looking for win-win partnerships that are structured, predictable, and in line with our national priorities. We have immense needs, but we have immense potential in Haiti as well. We have a resilient people, standing tall, even in the face of adversity. We are young, creative, and deeply attached to the values of dignity, justice, and freedom." End quote. Chair of the Permanent Council, the Haitian crisis is both complex and serious, but as our Prime Minister Alix Didier Fils-Aimé stated, the government is acting. It is acting methodically, bravely, consistently. Thanks to a progressive, coordinated, and rigorous strategy, the state is regaining control of the national territory, and secured zones have been established along strategic lines, allowing the economy to once again breathe. Indeed, Chair, the National Police of Haiti has been strengthened and reinforced, better equipped, and better supported. Our military has been mobilized in order to secure territories and support the state's authority. The multinational force authorized by the United Nations is also carrying out targeted actions with national coordination in order to strengthen the impact of operations and restabilize the areas we have been able to take back. And every single square meter of territory is a step toward normalcy. Please allow me to conclude by stating that after 40 years of democratic transition, we find ourselves at a turning point and a crucial moment in our history. Against this backdrop, our provisional government has committed solemnly to ensuring that the people of Haiti are able to freely choose their leaders and democracy to once again take root in our country. Therefore, we must organize elections in order to implement the Republican institutions once conditions make it possible. But elections alone are not enough. That is the lesson that we learn from the history of 40 years of transition in Haiti. We need massive investment as we need economic progress in order to consolidate democratic stability. In order to do that, we need support from the entire region and beyond. Supporting Haiti, my dear friends, isn't just an act of compassion. It is a responsible choice, the choice of stability, regional security, and international security. Haiti is not a burden. We are a battle to be won for human dignity and democracy. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ambassador, for your intervention. I now give the floor to the coordinators of the regional groups and other countries that would like to take the floor in order to give a welcome to the permanent representative of Haiti. As previously agreed, Antigua and Barbuda has the floor for 7 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, my delegation will speak only once on this Haitian matter. We do not propose to speak on item 5. We will combine our comments on this single intervention. Let me begin, Mr. Chairman, by warmly welcoming Ambassador Jean-Josue Pierre, on his return to this council as permanent representative of the Republic of Haiti. I've known Ambassador Pierre for more than a decade. I first encountered him here in this very council when he served as alternate representative of Haiti. Even then, the quality of his work marked him out for higher responsibility. He combined intellectual seriousness with quiet discipline, attributes that endure and that command respect. The presentation he made just a few minutes ago was a clear manifestation of both his sincerity and his intellect. I recall with particular admiration the work he undertook with my Deputy Chief of Mission, Joy D. Davis-Lake, on the OAS Plan of Action for the Decade of Persons of African Descent in the Americas, work that required patience, careful negotiation, and the capacity to bridge principle with practical consensus. It was demanding work, and it was well performed. I was therefore not surprised when his government accredited him to Paris, a capital whose long and complex relationship with Haiti has shaped its past, presses upon its present, and continues to influence its future. During his sojourn there, Ambassador Pierre and I remained intermittently in contact, and I was pleased to learn that he would be returning to this council to advance Haiti's interests once again at a critical time in its history. Ambassador Pierre is a consummate diplomat in the truest sense of that office. He is measured, thoughtful, and principled. Few would have said the words that he said today in relation to Haiti. Mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. An admission that the problems of Haiti also exist within past leadership and with the need for reform and a more patriotic view by all. My delegation welcomes him warmly and looks forward to working closely with him again. Mr. Chairman, it is deeply regrettable that we must celebrate Ambassador Pierre's presence at this council in the shadow of a solemn remembrance. 16 years ago, on 12th January 2010 in Haiti, that country was struck by a catastrophic earthquake whose human toll remains seared into our collective consciousness. The lives lost, the community shattered, and the institutional damage inflicted would have overwhelmed even the strongest of states. For Haiti, it compounded a burden already heavy. That earthquake deeply scarred the country. It added yet another tragedy to a beautiful land inhabited by a people of remarkable resilience, people who have endured far more than any nation should be asked to bear. In recent years, the Haitian people have been subjected to a reign of terror by armed gangs, terror that persists even as we meet here today, notwithstanding the recent recovery of some control in recent days. Entire neighborhoods have been taken hostage. Democratic and constitutional order has been decimated. Ordinary Haitians live with daily fear. What is most troubling is not only the terror itself, but the gradual fading of hemispheric urgency about the problems in Haiti. One must ask candidly and uncomfortably, is there any other country in our hemisphere where we would sit back, allow constitutional governance to collapse, and respond primarily with debates, deferred decisions, and carefully worded resolutions, while still claiming solidarity. Haiti needs more than statements of support. It needs action, deliberate, coordinated, and effective action, particularly from those with the means and the capacity to deliver it. Countries in our hemisphere have demonstrated that when political will aligns with purpose, complex and dangerous operations can be executed with speed, precision, and resources. The question before us about Haiti is not one of capacity, it is one of caring and political will. Let us start with an OAS fund for Haiti, to which all should contribute. Mr. Chair, as we welcome Ambassador Pierre back to this Council, let us also recommit ourselves, not merely in words, but in deeds, to ensuring that Haiti is not left to endure alone what no nation should be forced to withstand. The credibility of our collective resolve will be measured not by what we say here, but by what the Haitian people suffer every hour, every day.
Gracias, embajador.
Thank you, Ambassador. I now give the floor to Canada. Thank you, Chair. I echo the words of my colleagues in extending the warmest welcome to Ambassador Pierre. We're convinced that Ambassador Pierre will contribute or cast great light for us in the deliberations in the Permanent Council, particularly when it comes to our organization's efforts to address the multidimensional crisis in Haiti. Canada is in solidarity with the people of Haiti during this very difficult time. We're also very happy to pursue a fruitful collaboration with the Ambassador, particularly in the context of the activities of the Week of Francophonie here in the OAS. The ties between Canada and Haiti are quite close, and they're around human, cultural, and linguistic relations. So for our mission, it is an honor, it will be an honor to work very closely with Ambassador Pierre. Well, it's been a pleasure to do so in the past, and we're very happy about our very close and positive relationship. We most appreciate his dedication and commitment to the bilateral and multilateral relationship. We're very happy to have an old friend as a partner here and a colleague, and he can count on us and on our delegation. We assure him that our support will continue. We would like to warmly welcome you, Ambassador Pierre, and may long live dear Haiti. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ambassador, for your remarks. And I now give the floor to the Dominican Republic. Thank you, Chair. In the name of the delegations of Belize, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Panama, and the Dominican Republic, I wish to most warmly welcome Ambassador Jean-José Pierre, who is joining us as permanent representative of the Republic of Haiti to this organization. Ambassador, your joining the Permanent Council at this time is of special importance. Haiti holds a special place in the history, identity, and conscience of the hemisphere, and your active participation in this forum strengthens the multilateral dialogue and our collective capacity to go forward in seeking peaceful, sustainable solutions that are respectful of the sovereignty of states. The group that I represent today extends to you their wishes for the best of success in your functions. We're convinced that your work will help to enrich the work of this organization and to strengthen efforts geared to promoting stability, development, and the well-being of the Haitian people in a regional context that requires cooperation, understanding, and shared responsibility. Our countries share a firm conviction in the value of multilateralism as an essential tool for confronting our common challenges. The OAS is a special forum for frank dialogue, consensus building, and giving impetus to initiatives that favor democracy, human rights, security, and integral development. It is in that spirit that we reiterate our willingness to engage in a respectful and constructive exchange with the delegation of Haiti. Allow me to refer in particular to the Dominican Republic, which, as the neighbor of Haiti, shares not only a geographic boundary but also historic, human, and cultural ties. It is from this angle that the Dominican Republic reiterates its commitment to promote a relationship based on mutual respect, permanent dialogue, and responsible cooperation, always in the framework of international law and the principles of good neighborliness. This commitment extends to accompaniment, together with the international community, of efforts geared to peace, stability, and sustainable development in Haiti. Ambassador Pierre, may you receive once again on behalf of Belize, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Panama, and the Dominican Republic our warmest welcome. We wish you success in your work, and we reiterate our willingness to work jointly for the benefit of Haiti. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ambassador. Mexico has the floor. Thank you very much, Chair. I extend greetings to the Secretary General and the Assistant Secretary General, and also to all of the representatives of the states before this Permanent Council. My delegation would like to warmly welcome Ambassador Jean-Josue Pierre at a time that is particularly complex and decisive for Haiti and for our region. We wish you the best of success in the performance of your functions as permanent representative of your country to this organization. Mexico reaffirms its historic friendship and solidarity with the Haitian people, as well as its firm commitment to continue promoting cooperation geared to institutional strengthening and the inclusive and sustainable development of Haiti, with the conviction that through concerted efforts, it will be possible to make substantial advances towards recovering security, stability, and the reestablishment of the democratic institutional framework. Ambassador Pierre, you may count on the delegation of Mexico to work closely and constructively on these objectives and on the initiatives in the context of the OAS may contribute to the prosperity and well-being of the Haitian people in keeping with the principles set forth in the chart of the organization. Welcome. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you. Ambassador of the United States is recognized.
Mr. Chair, on behalf of the United States, I'm honored to welcome Ambassador Dahomey as he formally assumes his role as Haiti's permanent representative to OAS. Ambassador Dahomey brings to the Council a distinguished record of diplomatic service that is very much needed today. Chair, the United States remains fully committed to supporting Haiti's return to safety, stability, and democratic governance. May I remind the body, September 25, OAS had a joint declaration unanimously support of Haiti, which was followed by UN resolution for a gang suppression force. Today, we're at a crossroads that we must call out the need for the immediate hiring of the special representative that has been identified, Jack Christofides, and take action. We cannot just have these meetings and continue to fill the room with nice words of support without action items. We need a path forward that will be led by the Haitians, while international partners back credible efforts to restore order and rebuild governing capacity. In that spirit, we continue to support the transition from multinational security support mission to the gang suppression force. U.S. support for the mission reflects our view that improving security is foundational to reducing gang violence and helping communities regain a measure of normalcy. At the same time, security gains must be matched by political progress. We encourage Haiti's political stakeholders to pursue sustained constructive engagement aimed at establishing democratic elections later this year. Haiti's leaders should stay focused on the urgent demands of the Haitian people and avoid political distractions that slow momentum at a moment when the citizens are calling for real action and insecurity. The United States is prepared to support efforts that help create the conditions for credible, free, and fair elections. We also remain deeply concerned by Haiti's humanitarian situation. We urge the international community to increase assistance and ensure that the support is delivered effectively to those most in need. Haiti and partners across the region to advance sustainable initiatives that deliver measurable results. Finally, we emphasize that Haiti's challenge requires coordinated regional engagement. We value the efforts of CARICOM and OAS member states to encourage dialogue and support stability, and we believe that OAS remains an essential venue for aligning efforts that advance peace and security in Haiti and across the hemisphere. Ambassador Dahomey, we congratulate you on your appointment and look forward to working together within this council and beyond. The United States remains committed to supporting the Haitian people's aspirations for peace, security, and a brighter future, and to work alongside our partners at OAS to promote a secure, democratic, and prosperous Haiti. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Gracias a usted, señora.
Thank you, Ambassador. And I now give the floor to St. Kitts and Nevis.
Thank you very much, Chair. I speak as the coordinator of the CARICOM Caucus of Ambassadors, and it is a genuine pleasure to extend warm congratulations on behalf of the caucus to Ambassador Jean-Josué Pierre as he formally assumes duties as permanent representative of the Republic of Haiti to the OAS. Ambassador Pierre is a distinguished career diplomat whose service over the past decade reflects exceptional dedication to Haiti and to multilateral diplomacy. Before returning to Washington, D.C., he served with distinction as Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the Republic of Haiti to France and to Switzerland, with residence in Paris, and as permanent representative to the International Organization of la Francophonie, the Bureau International des Expositions, and the Agence Universitaire de la Francophonie, demonstrating across these roles a solid combination of experience, professionalism, and commitment to dialogue and cooperation. His prior experience within this very institution as Minister Counselor at Haiti's permanent mission to the OAS from 2013 to 2019 gives him an intimate knowledge of the inter-American system at a time when his professionalism, sound judgment, and collegial spirit were already evident, and which will continue to be the hallmark of his representation. Before entering the diplomatic service, Ambassador Pierre distinguished himself as a scholar of international relations and political philosophy through academic training, including doctoral studies at the University of Paris-Sorbonne, advanced studies in political philosophy, and graduate studies at Ohio and Brown universities as a Fulbright Fellow. More recently, as interim representative, Ambassador Pierre provided steady stewardship of the mission, ensuring continuity and institutional engagement during a transitional period. As you now transition from that role to full responsibilities as permanent representative, Excellency, we are confident that your experience and steady approach will serve you well, and that your engagement will contribute meaningfully to the work of this Council. Excellence, nous vous adressons nos plus sincères félicitations.
We congratulate you and we wish you the best of success in carrying out your noble mission here at the OAS.
Gracias, embajadora. Tiene luz.
Thank you, Ambassador. I now give the floor to Chile. Thank you very much, Chair. As coordinator of the Group of 10, Argentina, Bolivia, Mexico, Brazil, Uruguay, Paraguay, and others, I'd like to cordially welcome Jean-José Pierre, the new ambassador from Haiti, who has just presented his credentials. Both you, Chair, and the other colleagues who have spoken before me have highlighted the key professional history of Ambassador Pierre and his diplomatic positions that he's held. So I think it's important to highlight the role of Haiti in this organization, given its profound historic meaning in terms of democracy, liberty, and self-determination in this hemisphere. The OAS cannot be what it is fully without the voice and presence of Haiti in this context. Your role as ambassador will be key. You are called upon to serve as a bridge between the legitimate aspirations of the people of Haiti and the multilateral company that the OAS can offer. And the roadmap headed up by the Secretary General towards the strengthening institutional stability and recovery of democracy. The challenges are huge. Governability, security, development, and social cohesion. In your own remarks, you highlighted some of these aspects. But so is the opportunity to renew the OAS's commitment to Haiti from dialogue, cooperation, and respect for Haiti's sovereignty. Your leadership, Ambassador Pierre, will be determinant in forging this shared path ahead. Thank you, and thank you, Chair. Thank you, Coordinator for the Group of 10, and I now give the floor to Argentina. Chair, I'm grateful for the remarks by the coordinator of the Group of 10, Ambassador Pascual, and we fully endorse those words. I am honored to be able to take the floor to extend my warmest welcome in my personal capacity and also on behalf of my country. I have firsthand knowledge of your high professional capabilities, your personal finesse, and having heard you today, also your great courage. And your presence here in this organization will make it possible not only for Haiti to have a representative of the highest level, but also your presence here will mean a great resource for all of us members of the organization. At international moments that are so complex, where there are many more questions than there are certainties, Jean-José, with your solid academic training, particularly in the fields of philosophy and history of political and social ideas, perhaps you can help us find some of those answers. At any rate, your great priority will no doubt be to continue to raise awareness that Haiti is not just a problematic situation, but also a great opportunity for the OAS to be able to show its relevance based on the roadmap with all of the members, which all of the members and with Haiti at the center are concluding in order to implement it and thereby facilitate a full democratic process with security and dignity for your beautiful people. Dear Jean-José, you can count on Argentina to be beside you, supporting you in this great challenge in your career. May God bless you and the people of Haiti. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ambassador. Jamaica has the floor.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I align completely with the CARICOM statement that was made earlier by the Ambassador of St. Kitts and Nevis. But our shared history and Haiti being a very near neighbor, and also the collegial relationship I have with the ambassador, our new ambassador, it compels me to make a few remarks. And it's really my distinct honor and pleasure, on behalf of the delegation of Jamaica, to warmly welcome Your Excellency, Ambassador Jean-José Pierre Domi, to the Organization of American States, and to congratulate you on your appointment as the permanent representative. Ambassador Domi, your assumption of duties comes at a pivotal moment for Haiti, and indeed for our hemisphere. Jamaica recognizes the experience, dedication, and commitment you bring to this role, and we are confident that your voice and leadership will contribute meaningfully to the independent work of the organization. Jamaica and Haiti share not only geographic proximity within the Caribbean Sea, but also deep historical ties, shared cultural bonds, and a common commitment to the principles of sovereignty, democracy, human rights, and development, with key fundamental pillars on which this organization was established. Within CARICOM and here at the OAS, Jamaica has consistently stood in solidarity with the people and government of Haiti, and we reaffirm that commitment today. We look forward to continued collaboration with your mission as we collectively seek practical, inclusive, and respectful solutions to the challenges facing Haiti and our region through dialogue, cooperation, and mutual respect. Ambassador Omi, please be assured of Jamaica's full support in all aspects of this journey and our readiness to engage constructively with you in advancing the goals and ideals of Haiti. Once again, Excellency, welcome to the OAS. We wish you a very successful and enjoyable tour of duty. Thank you.
Gracias, embajador. Tiene el uso de la
Thank you, Ambassador. Panama is recognized. Thank you very much, Chair. With the permission of the Permanent Mission of the Dominican Republic, headed up by Maylene Cordero, coordinator of the regional group, I'm honored to speak on behalf of the Permanent Mission of Panama to extend warm and fraternal welcome to our colleague, His Excellency Ambassador Jean-Josue Pierre Daoumi, who today is assuming the position as permanent representative of Haiti to this organization. Ambassador Pierre, your designation to serve as permanent representative at this House of the Americas comes at a crucial moment for our region and especially for your country. Haiti is not only a founding member of this Organization of American States, but also a living symbol of the struggle for liberties, freedom, self-determination, and dignity for the peoples of this hemisphere and your nation. Democracy and sovereignty are gains that need to be protected every day. For Panama, its relationship with Haiti is historic and profound. We are bound by unbreakable ties of solidarity that have been forged in mutual respect, cooperation, and a shared vision of social justice, democracy, and human development. Over the years, Panama has accompanied the Haitian people in complex moments, convinced that the stability and well-being of Haiti are essential for peace and security in the hemisphere. Ambassador, in the delegation of Panama, you will always find a ready hand. We're always ready to engage in a frank and committed dialogue. We're firmly committed to multilateralism as a tool for tackling the common challenges faced by our region. We're convinced that with your diplomatic experience and your vision, efforts will continue to strengthen the work in this Permanent Council. Your voice will be fundamental to move forward in the hemispheric security agenda and likewise the agenda on development of human rights and strengthening of the inter-American system, always with unlimited respect for the sovereignty of states and the search for joint and sustainable solutions to the problems faced by the Haitian people. Ambassador, your designation coincides with a historic point of inflection for Haiti. Panama welcomes with hope the recent experience of the multilateral mission to support security with a new support force, to gang suppression force. This is an initiative which my country, Panama, co-drafted and gave impetus to before the UN Security Council. This solution represents a firm step forward to strengthen Haitian national capabilities and recovery of territorial control by the state. We also highlight the joint operations that were initiated in January of 2026 against criminal structures which for years have sowed violence and instability. These actions reaffirm that the path to peace, albeit complex, is possible and requires responsible and coordinated accompaniment of the international community. Panama reiterates its firm commitment to Haiti, not only diplomatically, but also through accompaniment with solidarity and responsibility in the context of international cooperation. In this regard, the Republic of Panama will continue supporting efforts of the international community geared to strengthening institutional capabilities of the Haitian state, with the objective of contributing to bringing about a circumstances that are secure and propitious for elections to be held in 2026 with full respect for democratic rights. Ambassador, I wish you the best of success in this new job that you begin today. You can count on the firm support of Panama and its solidarity to work side by side to benefit our peoples and to benefit and strengthen our organization. Ambassador, you are welcome, dear friend and colleague. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ambassador. And once again, we wish success in this work of the permanent representative of Haiti to this organization. Jean Josue, I believe you have felt that Haiti is a matter that keeps us up at night. It is a matter of constant concern for the organization and for this Permanent Council and for multilateralism in general. We now move on to item 4, the situation of persons deprived of liberty for political reasons in Venezuela. Mindful of the request made by the delegations of Argentina, Antigua and Barbuda, Bolivia, Canada, Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, and others, we must now consider the matter persons deprived of liberty for political reasons in Venezuela. And with this aim, I would like to extend greetings to and offer the floor to Gloria Monique Demis, Commissioner and Rapporteur for Venezuela of the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights. Commissioner Demis, welcome, and you now have the floor.
Good morning, Ambassador Luis Ernesto Vargas, President of the Permanent Council, Secretary General Ramdin, Assistant Secretary General Jill, Honorable Permanent and alternate representatives of member states and observers, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to begin by expressing my sincere appreciation for the invitation to attend this session of the Permanent Council. Likewise, I take the opportunity to express my solidarity with the Venezuelan people. As of December 2025, publicly available information indicated that 914 people remain arbitrarily detained for political reasons in Venezuela. For decades, the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights has closely monitored with deep concern the systematic use of arbitrary detention and the instrumentalization of criminal law to persecute individuals who hold political or ideological views contrary to those of the authorities, as well as those who legitimately exercise their rights to freedom of expression, assembly, and association, including human rights defenders. These practices must be understood within a broader context of democratic erosion and lack of institutional legitimacy, which the Commission has consistently highlighted since the electoral process of 2024. The absence of free, fair, and credible elections, combined with the concentration of power and the lack of judicial independence, has undermined the democratic legitimacy of the authorities exercising power. It severely weakened the rule of law and enabled widespread human rights violations. During its monitoring work throughout 2025, the Inter-American Commission received information regarding the deaths of Reynaldo Aurojo, Lindomar Jesus Amoro Bustamante, and Alfredo Diaz, all whom were arbitrarily detained by state authorities. These cases bring the total to at least 17 individuals detained for political reasons who have died in custody since 2015, reflecting a pattern of severe neglect, denial of medical care, and conditions incompatible with human dignity. In this context, the Commission took note of the release of 99 people on the 25th of December 2025, and subsequently of the releases announced on January 8. As of January 18, the release of 143 political prisoners has been confirmed. However, The Commission has also observed that for more than a week, relatives of detained persons have gathered outside detention centers demanding the effective implementation of the releases announced by authorities. At the same time, we have received information indicated the continued operation of clandestine pretrial detention centers, a matter previously documented by the Independent International Fact-Finding Mission on Venezuela and by organizations such as Human Rights Watch. The persistence of these facilities underscores the structural nature of the violations and the absence of effective institutional oversight. The Commission reiterates the urgent need for transparent, updated, and verifiable information regarding the condition under which political prisoners are being released. This includes clarity on the precautionary or restrictive measures imposed, any limitations on freedom of movement or expression, their current legal status, and access to medical and psychological care for released individuals and their families. With regard to the state of external commotion and detentions under Decree number 5200, published on January 10th, and validated by the Supreme Court of Justice, the Commission reiterated its request for detailed and updated information on its implementation, in particular, clarification regarding the number of people detained under this legal provision and the detention centers where they are currently being held. The Commission recalls that states of exception must strictly comply with the principles of legality, necessity, proportionality, and temporality, and cannot be used to justify generalized repression or the suspension of non-derogable rights. The Inter-American Commission on Human Rights remains fully committed to its mandate to monitor the situation in Venezuela, adopt precautionary measures, and give visibility to ongoing human rights violations across the country. In light of the persistent lack of democratic legitimacy, the absence of effective separation of powers, and the systematic repression of dissent, the Commission reiterates that a genuine, peaceful, and inclusive democratic transition grounded in respect for human rights, the rule of law, and international standards is essential to overcoming the current crisis and preventing the recurrence of grave violations. The Inter-American Commission on Human Rights also reiterates its standing request to conduct an on-site visit to Venezuela with the objective of engaging in constructive dialogue with state authorities and independently assessing the human rights situation. The Commission emphasizes that such visits constitute a fundamental mechanism of cooperation, transparency, and accountability, and reiterates its willingness to carry out the visit at the earliest opportunity, under conditions that guarantee full access, independence, and compliance with its mandate. Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Demise, for your intervention. I now give the floor to Commissioner Edgar Estuardo Ralón, who is the second Vice Chair and Rapporteur on the rights of persons deprived of liberty and for the prevention and combat of torture. Commissioner, I give you the floor. As dear Ambassador, Permanent Council, Chair. Secretary General of the OAS, Laura Hill, ASG, honorable representatives, both permanent and alternate of member states and observers. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the invitation to this session of the Permanent Council. And In addition to what was already expressed by Commissioner Demise, I will be focusing on the conditions of detention of the persons deprived of liberty for political reasons. Over the last several years, the IACHR has monitored with concern the persistence of arbitrary detentions in Venezuela aimed at persecuting persons with political or ideological positions that differ with that of the de facto regime in Venezuela, as well as with those who are legitimately attempting to exercise their fundamental freedoms of expression, assembly, and association, and those who take part in defending human rights. These are not isolated incidents, but rather a persistent, systematic pattern that has been employed by the dictatorial regime of Venezuela. Criminal law has been weaponized in order to silence dissident voices and is used to deprive those individuals of freedom. The undue use of criminal law as a mechanism of control, censorship, reprisals, and persecution to criminalize and try voices of the opposition and critics. Against this backdrop, the Commission has identified violations of due process and legal protection, particularly because there is no independent judiciary. It's important to underscore that without independent judges, no legal protection is possible, and people are left completely defenseless. This situation exposes of persons detained arbitrarily to countless violations of due process, such as excessive use of preventive detention, extending judicial hearings indefinitely, frequently changing prosecutors and charges, a lack of access to effective defense, criminalization of the defense of detainees, and prison is used as a punishment before trial. The state should guarantee life, integrity, and the health of individuals under its custody. This is an international obligation and a human rights obligation, but in Venezuela, this is an international obligation that is systematically violated day in and day out, and the Commission has constantly been receiving information on the deplorable detention conditions, practices of torture, and mistreatment against those who are deprived of freedom for political reasons in Venezuela. This is aggravated by a lack of investigation of those facts. In particular, these individuals who have been detained for political reasons face differentiated treatment in the way that they are treated. There is a lack of information on their situation. There is a lack of information even on where they are being held. There are solitary confinements and punishments involving those who are incommunicado. They are not given timely specialized medical treatment. They are not able to access drinking water and appropriate food, unsanitary conditions, restrictions on visits for prolonged periods, and they're also subjected to cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment and torture. These multiple systematic human rights violations have been suffered by thousands of individuals in Venezuela over the last several years, and according to data from the Foro Penal organization, as of the 19th of January, there are 777 political prisoners, including Venezuelan citizens and foreigners. Of them, only 143 have been released. For example, of the foreigners, the media has highlighted the citizens from Argentina, Gustavo Rivera, Nahuel Gallo, and Germán Giuliani, and we are monitoring and following up on their situation. This same source verified that since 2014, when Nicolas Maduro took power, until today, there have been over 18,739 political detentions in Venezuela. That includes at least 9 persons who benefited from precautionary measures granted by the Commission, including human rights defender Rocio San Miguel. It's extremely important for us to use the correct term when it comes to the 143 individuals who are no longer in political prison, that is, those who have been released. However, their criminal proceedings continue to be open and they are not allowed to leave the country. They must face judges who are not independent. With regard to all of the political prisoners and those who have been released that remain subject to serious restrictions on their freedom, we must remind you that these individuals include people who have diseases, who have families that have been ripped apart, children who have been impacted, persons facing lasting physical and psychological damage. Every single day of detention or arbitrary prison is in itself a violation on their life, which has been cut off. The obligations of the Venezuelan regime are clear, immediate, and non-negotiable. They are obligations in international law and human rights. They must immediately free all of the individuals detained for political reasons without any restriction on any of their freedoms. Immediately eliminate any restrictions on the freedoms of those who have already been released. Immediately stop using criminal law as a tool for repression and persecution. Ensure an independent judiciary and investigate and sanction acts of torture. Every single day of arbitrary detention leaves a lasting mark on the lives of individuals, their families, and Venezuelan society, as well as the entire region. No stability is possible, nor may it be possible, without democracy and free elections if we continue to see the imprisonment of dissidents, and we urgently call for the immediate release without restrictions of all political prisoners and reiterate that human dignity cannot be suspended or negotiated. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Commissioner. And now I give the floor to the delegations. And first of all, the American delegation is recognized.
Thank you, Chair. The United States applauds the continued engagement of the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, a matter that affects thousands. And we thank the commissioners not just for their words, but for their passion, their efforts, their conviction to protecting human rights. We very much welcome the recent release of roughly 143 unjustly detained persons, including beneficiaries of the Commission's precautionary measures. The United States shares the Commission's deep concern regarding the continued detention of the individuals for political reasons, including opposition leaders, journalists, human rights defenders, and foreign nationals. And we strongly encourage resolution of this matter. Approximately 1,000 unjustly detained still remain. The United States requests and support the unconditional release of all unjustly detained political prisoners. This concern is not new. The Commission has long documented systematic arbitrary detention in Venezuela, identifying the use of criminal law and security institutions to silence political opposition, civil society actors, journalists, and human rights defenders. The Commission has repeatedly underscored serious due process, including prolonged pre-trial detention, lack of access to legal counsel, closed or irregular judicial proceedings, and politically influenced courts. The Commission has further warned that incommunicado detention and lack of information to families may constitute cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatment, and in some cases enforced disappearance under international law. Addressing political detentions will be an essential component of recovery and reconciliation phase of bringing stability, prosperity, and normalcy to Venezuela. In June 2025, this Council, supported by the United States, took the important step of referring the issue of arbitrary detention in state-to-state relations to the Inter-American Judicial Committee. That action reflected our shared recognition that arbitrary detention is not only a human rights violation, but often a serious legal and diplomatic challenge that undermines trust in international law and regional stability. We also take note of the Commission's January 13th statement underscoring the importance of respect for international law. The United States supports the principles of the OAS and UN charters. With this in mind, Mr. Chair, the United States calls for the authorities in Venezuela to immediately and unconditionally release all persons detained for political reasons. and fully cooperate with the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, including acceptance in local visits. We strictly refrain from perpetuating torture and cruel and inhumane or degrading treatment or punishment. Removal of unjustified conditions on those released. End of the emergency decrees to suppress peaceful expression. Fully respect freedom of expression and to do the utmost to ensure the safety of the journalist. The U.S. also puts on notice all those engaged in human rights violations and abuse of power to be held fully accountable. In closing, the United States stands with the Venezuelan people and with the institutions of this organization that promote regional stability and defend democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ambassador. Antigua and Barbuda is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, my delegation thanks the rapporteurs for their continued vigilance and for their readiness to brief this Council. My government condemns the holding of political prisoners wherever it occurs in the Americas and beyond. This is why my government has actively supported the Canadian initiative against arbitrary arrests and detention. The deprivation of liberty for reasons of conscience, dissent, or political belief is among the gravest violations a state can commit against its own people. It silences voices, fractures trust, and hollows out institutions meant to serve, not to suffocate. The Inter-American Commission on Human Rights has documented a grave and sustained pattern of violations, arbitrary detentions, enforced disappearances, extrajudicial executions, censorship, and political persecution. It has also drawn attention to the broader human consequences of this deterioration: mass displacement, the collapse of economic and social rights, and the steady shrinking of civil space. When rights are suppressed, societies do not remain contained. Instability travels. People seek refuge. The consequences are felt far beyond national borders. But permit me to state a simple but important fact. Within the CARICOM group, we are very proud that we have no political prisoners. The separation between the executive and the judiciary is maintained in all our countries. A free and often critical press exists, including media owned and operated by political groupings themselves. Dissent is not feared. Debate is not criminalized. It is understood as essential to democratic life. This distinction matters because democracy is not this distinction matters because democracy is not to be defined solely by general elections. It is measured daily in respect for dissent and in the ability of individuals and societies to question authority without fear of reprisal. When these freedoms are suffocated, it is never long before sovereignty is invoked as a shield against scrutiny. But sovereignty does not exist apart from the people. It derives from them. It cannot be used to justify the denial of their rights, nor to insulate abuse from regional or international concern. Mr. Chairman, the Commission has expressed its willingness to conduct an in loco visit to Venezuela. That willingness deserves our support, but it also obliges this organization to confront an uncomfortable truth. What authority in Venezuela would the Commission approach? Would it be the present authorities in Caracas, led by Ms. Delcy Rodriguez, which notified their withdrawal from this organization in 2019? Or under what authority would such access be sought? Mr. Chair, the effectiveness of our human rights machinery depends on institutional integrity. If the OAS is to play a constructive role in addressing the crisis of rights and governance in Venezuela, we must recommit ourselves to honoring our own rules, applying them consistently, not bending them for convenience as we did in 2019 in relation to who governed Venezuela, nor discarding them when outcomes become uncomfortable, as we did in 2022, again in relation to the government of Venezuela. The responsibility before this Council, therefore, is to act with discipline and consistency. Only then can this organization credibly defend human rights, human dignity, restore confidence in its mechanisms, and serve the people of this hemisphere not with expediency, but with justice. Let me end by saying, Mr. Chairman, that we also call strongly for the release of all political prisoners in Venezuela.
Gracias a usted.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Argentina is recognized. Chair, the situation of those who are political prisoners in Venezuela is a topic that falls on all of us who are here present today, and that is why Argentina, along with other delegations, requested that we address this in today's session of the Permanent Council. That is why we are deeply grateful for your support, absolutely, to all of you. Therefore, we would like to highlight the work of Commissioners Gloria Demise and Edgar Stuardo Ralón, and we are grateful for their commitment. We highlight these statements also from the Secretary General, Albert Ramdin, who recently called on the authorities to ensure that anyone who is an arbitrarily detained political prisoner be released immediately. We are currently observing the release is underway, and we understand this is an initial step in the right direction. As reiterated by my president very recently, we continue to demand the liberation of Argentine citizen Nahuel Gallo, as well as all political prisoners who are Argentine citizens, and all political prisoners detained arbitrarily and illegally. We need to put an end to this situation for once and for all. The Maduro regime used its state terrorism to carry out disappearances, arbitrary detentions, and torture. This has been corroborated by testimonies from the first individuals released by the regime, and it has been many difficult years for Venezuelan people, including those who remained in their country and those who were foreigners detained in Venezuela. For 8 million Venezuelans forced to migrate as well, and our entire continent. Chair, we have repeatedly demanded in this friendly Permanent Council that the constant human rights violations and violations of individual freedoms in that country be addressed here today. Unfortunately, the drip-by-drip release of those who've been illegally detained, disinformation from the Venezuelan regime, and misinformation cause even further situation to the families who have been anxiously awaiting the ability to embrace their loved ones. Again, I reiterate, in addition to the statements that and appreciations we might have, we are looking at a humanitarian situation and a moral imperative, and the impact of Venezuela returning to full democracy. Here in this at the special Permanent Council held on the 6th of January, we insisted that the ICHR be allowed to visit Venezuela in order to, among others, verify the status of political prisoners in that country and demand an official list of those same prisoners. Argentina will continue to be committed to ensuring that those Venezuelans are released and are able to recover their democracy, and there is to ensure that there is no more room for dictatorial experiences in our region. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you. Mexico is recognized. Thank you very much, Chair. My delegation takes note of the presentations by Ms. Commissioner Demise from the ICHR, as well as the statements from the Secretary General of the OAS and the communique issued on the 13th of January by the ICHR on the armed incursion in Venezuela, which of course called on the issue of international law. And we salute the work of the Commission focused on protecting political prisoners, not only in Venezuela, but also in our entire region. And we salute the announcement of the release of individuals in Venezuela, including individuals who had been benefiting from precautionary measures from that region. We hope that more are soon released. Mexico has constantly and consistently sustained that protecting human rights, including those of detainees, is an obligation faced by all states, which must be ensured at all times. That includes the freedom of expression and the expression of ideas, respect for the integrity of individuals, due process and access to justice, conditions of detention in line with international standards. Therefore, Mexico would like to reiterate very clearly that our position when it comes to the domestic issue of any states does not leave room for any ambiguity. In light of the recent facts and events in Venezuela with the capture of President Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores, which led to dozens of deaths, as well as the extrajudicial arrest and attack in the name of transnational organized crime, we reject any unilateral actions that violate human rights, international law, and the sovereignty and integrity of any state, placing at risk the security and stability of our region. As expressed by our Mexican president, Dr. Claudia Sheinbaum, the history of Latin America shows resolutely that external meddling has never led to lasting peace, stability, or well-being, and we sustain that unilateral acts and the use of force may not be the foundation of international relations, as they do not lead to peace or development. On the contrary, they worsen polarization, make humanitarian crises more serious, and make it impossible to find a sustainable solution. Foreign intervention has only brought inequality and pain to our people. And that is why, as President Sheinbaum has stated, we defend our sovereignty and the dignity of our people. Only the people themselves can build their future and freely decide how they wish to be governed without any imposition from abroad. And this position directly descends from our Constitution and the fundamental principles of international law, legal equality, and the rights of peoples to self-determination enshrined in the UN Charter, which all states are obliged to respect. Against this backdrop, we believe it is indispensable for any legitimate concern when it comes to human rights in Venezuela, including the situation of individuals who are political prisoners, must be addressed exclusively through dialogue, multilateral mechanisms, and international respectful support. We staunchly believe that our continent can and must move forward in actions for cooperation for development, dialogue among equals, and mutual respect. This specifically means respect among nations for the self-determination and sovereignty of people, and building shared regional solutions without fundamentalism nor any hegemonic pretensions. Mexico reiterates that international cooperation in addressing human rights challenges is welcome, but never threats, insubordination, or imposition. And therefore, we will continue to work within the OAS and other multilateral spaces to promote approaches that focus on cooperation, understanding, dialogue, and strict respect for human rights and international law. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much, Ambassador. Peru is now recognized. Thank you very much, Chair. Peru is grateful for including on today's agenda the very important topic which brings us together today, and we also value the presentations from the ICHR. My country maintains a consistent principle when it comes to defending the rule of law, human rights, and democracy, and that is why we expressed on many occasions our rejection of the crimes carried out by the Venezuelan regime in the case of political prisoners and individuals who have been inappropriately and arbitrarily detained. We note the recent freeing of several arbitrary detainees in Venezuela. However, we believe it's indispensable to underscore that all arbitrarily detained individuals in the country must be freed immediately. And therefore, the Venezuelan government must facilitate the actions of consular authorities in that country, which has not happened. That is the case of Peru through its section of interest in Caracas with assistance from the Brazilian embassy. Therefore, it is urgent for us to have updated, complete, verifiable information on the situation of each and every single one of these prisoners in order to ensure full respect for their health, physical and psychological integrity and rights, as well as their fundamental freedoms and access to administrative and judiciary due process. From a strictly humanitarian perspective, Peru also believes it's necessary for us to provide all facilities so that those who are released can be repatriated to their countries of origin, independently of their immigration situation, in full respect for international law and international obligations when it comes to human rights. In line with the staunch commitment of Peru to protect and promote dignity and fundamental freedoms for all of our citizens abroad, we want to underscore the actions carried out by our consulate to free Peruvian citizens. On the 14th of January, we provided humanitarian assistance and ongoing monitoring and support of the situation, facilitating the necessary steps in order for him to be returned to the country. Peru continues to carry out its acts at the highest level in order to ensure the swift release and repatriation of any Peruvians detained in Venezuela. That includes Marden Arturo Paredes Sandoval, Alchoa Costa de Paredes, Arturo Galindo Juvier, and others, as well as any other Peruvian citizen who may be later identified in a similar situation. Peru believes that the situation of political prisoners highlights the need to be transparent when it comes to the official figures of detainees and also those who are later released, with a difference between formal releases and situations in which they are released but still seriously restricted when it comes to their personal freedom. Transparency in this area is a legal and humanitarian imperative and sine qua non in order to build any trust. Finally, the Peruvian government would like to call for a swift solution to the political situation in Venezuela and promotes a transition with full respect for international law as well as human rights, and the respect for the legitimate desire for democracy of the people of Venezuela. Peru reiterates its willingness to work constructively, responsibly, and with solidarity in any efforts by this organization to promote the well-being of the people of Venezuela and regional stability. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Ambassador. I now give the floor to Chile. Thank you very much, Chair. We're grateful for the inclusion of this item on the agenda, and we take note of the remarks by Commissioner Demis and Commissioner Ralón. And we also extend greetings to the Executive Secretary of the Inter-American Commission, who is here, and likewise the Special Rapporteur for Freedom of Expression. Chile's been consistent in denouncing the widespread human rights violations in Venezuela. These have been extensively documented by the international protection mechanisms of the United Nations and the Inter-American human rights system as both commissioners recently noted. In that context, and mindful of the latest events, we recognize as a positive sign the recent release of hundreds of or dozens of political prisoners by the current Venezuelan regime. Nonetheless, we are still concerned about the situation of hundreds of persons who continue to be deprived of liberty in that country for political reasons, and who, to date, have no clarity as to who or when they will be released. Our country has expressed clearly and repeatedly its condemnation of the arbitrary detention of political opponents, not only in Venezuela. We have characterized such actions as a violation of human rights that goes against the democratic spirit that should prevail in any state that is governed under the rule of law. In this regard, Chile also shares the calls made by multilateral human rights mechanisms to put an end to the harassment of persons who are opponents, who are perceived as such, and that fundamental freedoms of expression, assembly, and association should be respected in that country. Chair, Chile takes this opportunity to reiterate its call to the Venezuelan authorities to release all persons who are being held arbitrarily, especially those who have been considered political prisoners. Chile is available to accompany all efforts in that direction, and we also appeal to all states who can contribute to this cause to redouble their efforts with full respect for international law and international human rights law. In addition, Chile reiterates its firm commitment to the defense of these rights and to the recovery of democracy in Venezuela by peaceful means that are inclusive and that are determined by the Venezuelan people, and by holding free, fair, and transparent elections subject to international observation. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ambassador. I now recognize Paraguay. Thank you very much, Chair. Allow me, first of all, to thank the distinguished delegation of the Argentine Republic for asking that this item be included on the order of business. It's been co-sponsored by several delegations, including Paraguay. I am also grateful to Gloria Monique Demis and Eduardo Ralón Orellana, both commissioners of the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, for their presentations. We have closely followed the presentations of the commissioners, as well as the information that has been put out in recent days by the media and non-governmental organizations regarding the news that persons detained for political reasons in Venezuela were being released, including some who were beneficiaries of precautionary measures that have been granted by the Inter-American Commission. We celebrate these releases of persons who had been deprived of their liberty solely for legitimately exercising their profession and expressing an opinion. No doubt, it is a step in the right direction that is essential for creating the conditions that would enable the Venezuelan people to fully exercise fundamental rights such as the freedom of expression, freedom of press, access to information, and the rights to association and assembly, and to move towards a transition that would make possible effective democratic restoration. Notwithstanding, it is worrisome that many of these persons do not yet have full freedom, remaining under house arrest or other restrictions that are unacceptable. According to figures provided by non-governmental organizations, or human rights organizations such as Foro Penal of Venezuela, since January 8th, approximately 143 people have been released. This is far from the figures announced by the Venezuelan authorities, plus they have not made known the identities of the persons released. In addition, this number is far from the total number of persons who've been detained for political reasons. In this regard, Paraguay joins the appeal for the immediate release of all persons who continue to be deprived of liberty for political reasons. For Paraguay, the full restoration of democracy in Venezuela, it requires the release of all political prisoners, as well as all persons who have been detained arbitrarily, as an essential condition for democracy to be fully enforced. We are also concerned that Decree 5200 of 5 January of this year continues to be enforced. It declared a state of commotion throughout Venezuelan territory. This can be used to criminalize citizen expression and demonstrations and to authorize arbitrary detentions, as was noted by the Inter-American Commission in its communication 7/26 of 13 January. Also, the Venezuelan authorities have yet to respond to the request made by the Inter-American Commission. It was made known in September 2025 through its communique 185/25 to carry out an on-site visit to Venezuela for the purpose of directly observing the human rights situation and the situation of persons deprived of liberty in prisons or detention centers. We would also like to recall that the American Court of Human Rights, in its decision of August 2025 in the case of Salamanca et al. V. Venezuela, confirmed that the American Convention on Human Rights continues to be in force in Venezuela, and it reiterated that it has jurisdiction to take stock of the victims' claims. It is no minor matter that this decision was adopted by unanimity, which reflects a broad consensus on the part of the highest level Inter-American Court as regards the existence of systematic human rights violations in that country. Chair. Paraguay today is a consolidated democracy, but it knows firsthand the consequences of authoritarian regimes. Next February, we will mark 37 years since we saw the return to democracy, aware of the complexity and challenges involved in any transition process. The government of Paraguay reiterates its willingness to cooperate with efforts to ensure peace in a democratic transition in Venezuela and to play an active role together with the countries of our hemisphere in favor of the restoring democracy. Finally, Paraguay reiterates its unconditional solidarity with the Venezuelan people and expresses its hope to see them exercising their fundamental rights fully as a matter of popular sovereignty for rebuilding a country that is so important for our region as is Venezuela. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ambassador. I now give the floor to Brazil. Thank you, Chair. We take note of the remarks by Commissioners Gloria Demis and Eduardo Ralón. We value their participation. We thank them for participating in this Council. Brazil has been closely following the human rights situation in Venezuela, as well as political events stemming from the events of last January 3rd. On various occasions, we have expressed our concern about information regarding political detentions in Venezuela. We believe that progress in the area of human rights, including the review of arbitrary detentions, would contribute significantly to promoting a climate of trust for national reconciliation and for taking up anew a broad, inclusive, and representative dialogue. Brazil has consistently shown that it appreciates and is committed to the work of the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, and it has also, on several occasions, urged cooperation among the countries of the different regions of the Western Hemisphere and the Commission. And so we reiterate our appeal to the government of Venezuela to go forward with confidence-building measures, including reviewing cases of detention, holding accountable those responsible for human rights violations, and a commitment to an engagement with regional and international human rights mechanisms. We understand that respect for sovereignty and the principle of non-intervention should move forward side by side with the collective responsibility to promote and protect human rights and democracy, as agreed upon by all the OAS member states. At the same time, we reiterate our understanding that promoting and protecting human rights, which is a true pillar of civilization, should not be used to justify interventions or coercive measures that are unilateral. It is not admissible to protect human rights by means of actions that are at odds with the rules and principles of international law. Approaches that merely condemn, limit possibilities of engagement, and imply distancing among regional actors. Brazil defends the constructive approach that accords priority to dialogue. Future discussions about the on this issue need to be led by Venezuelan actors without outside meddling and in keeping with international law. We believe that this balanced approach is essential for preserving the credibility and relevance of this organization. Thank you very much. thank you, Ambassador, and Uruguay is recognized. Thank you, Chair. First of all, Uruguay would like to thank the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights and the commissioners for the update they've given us regarding the situation of persons deprived of liberty in the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, and we have taken note thereof. In this context, we reiterate the high priority that our country assigns to the promotion and protection of human rights and the unlimited respect for international law and the principles and purposes enshrined in the UN Charter and the OAS Charter, which are fundamental pillars of relations among states. In this regard, here in this very Permanent Council, we have supported the work of supervision and monitoring that the Commission and Inter-American Court of Human Rights continue to monitor in Venezuela. Chair, the President of Uruguay has closely followed recent events and reiterates his belief that the situation in Venezuela should be resolved exclusively by peaceful means through dialogue and negotiation, processes that should be led by Venezuelans. We also reiterate, as we did several days ago, that we advocate for the opening up of a transition process towards the full reestablishment of representative participatory democracy in Venezuela without political prisoners, in keeping with the principles of the Inter-American Democratic Charter. These steps are indispensable for establishing peace or reestablishing peace and development in Venezuela and throughout the region. Chair, for Uruguay and in the current context, hammering out a roadmap towards democracy should include an appeal to the authorities in charge of Venezuela for the quick release of all persons who are unjustly and arbitrarily detained for political reasons, and to reestablish the exercise of freedom of expression and opinion, which is essential for laying the basis for a genuine and constructive political dialogue. We welcome the recent releases of approximately 150 persons, including 20 journalists and more than 80 activists, social leaders, and political leaders in Venezuela. Several of them, as has been said here, have been beneficiaries of precautionary measures issued by the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights. In line with Uruguay's tradition of defending human rights and democracy, we urge that all forms of repression cease and that the releases that have resulted from illegal and arbitrary detentions go forward. These are key for going forward with the full reestablishment of freedoms and the search for lasting solutions so as to benefit the Venezuelan people. Information that has been shared today by the Inter-American Commission, however, it lays out several complex challenges that the people of Venezuela continue to face, including, as the Commission has noted, the fact that hundreds of persons continue to be detained and the need to undo any illegal detention and any restriction on fundamental freedoms. And so we urge the members of the OAS to call for the essential conditions to be laid and to build bridges so that the OAS and its human rights bodies can play a constructive role in the possible opening up of, and I would hope this actually happens, a peaceful, inclusive political transition that would make it possible to restore democracy and guarantee effective protection for human rights. Chair, Uruguay reiterates its willingness to cooperate in forging an inclusive democratic dialogue in Venezuela that would contribute to efforts aimed at recovering the institutional framework and full respect for political pluralism and human rights in that country. Thank you very much. Thank you. I now give the floor to the Dominican Republic. Chair, the delegation of the Dominican Republic would like, first of all, to thank the mission of Argentina for asking that this item be included on the agenda of this Permanent Council. We have been co-sponsors of that initiative, convinced of the relevance and importance of the topic that brings us here today. We've also taken note of the valuable presentations made by Commissioner Gloria Monique Demis, Rapporteur for Venezuela of the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, and also by Commissioner Edgar Estuardo Ralón Orellana, who is Second Vice President and Rapporteur for Persons Deprived of liberty and for ending and combating torture. The Dominican Republic celebrates the recent news on the release of persons who have been detained for political reasons. This is a process that has unfolded in recent days after significant political events in the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, including the capture of Nicolás Maduro. The release of dozens of persons detained is a step in the right direction, however limited it may be. And it should be valued because the human relief that it represents for the persons and their family members. Nonetheless, we should note with also firmly that they are a minimum fraction of persons who continue to be detained for political reasons in that country. According to estimates by independent organizations and human rights organizations, there are still more than 800 persons who are being deprived of liberty for political reasons. Many of them face arbitrary accusations without due guarantees and with very guaranteed access to public information about their cases. This reality requires that we recall that a partial release, albeit welcome, cannot be considered enough. And thus it is necessary to see the immediate and unconditional release of all persons detained for political reasons, and to guarantee their security, well-being, physical and psychological integrity, in keeping with the international obligations that Venezuela has taken on as a member state of the OAS and of other multilateral instruments that it has accepted. We urge the Venezuelan authorities, in cooperation with the international community, allow full and transparent access to independent verification mechanisms, including specialized bodies such as the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, to accompany and verify the process. The Dominican Republic reiterates its commitment to the defense of human rights, fundamental freedoms, and the dignity of persons. These are essential pillars of any democratic society. We know that lasting peace can only be sustained on the basis of justice, respect for freedoms, and guarantees of the rule of law. Chair, our country is always willing to cooperate with the member states of this organization to seek just solutions that are in keeping with the principles of the Charter of the OAS. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ambassador, and I now give the floor to Panama. Chair, my delegation is grateful for the presentations made by Commissioner Gloria Monique Denise, Rapporteur for Venezuela of the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, and Commissioner Edgar Estuardo Ralón Orellana, Rapporteur for Persons Deprived of Liberty. Their technical contributions and their testimony are essential for the deliberation of this Council. The situation of persons deprived of liberty for political reasons in Venezuela continues to be a matter of serious concern. The persistence of arbitrary detentions, the lack of procedural guarantees, and the use of the punitive apparatus to inhibit political participation not only harm fundamental rights, but also undermine democratic legitimacy. The Inter-American frameworks are clear. No one can be deprived of liberty because of dissenting or exercising fundamental rights. Political incarceration alters the very functioning of democracy. When participation is replaced by criminal justice intimidation, then the citizens tend to hush up, and this speaks to profound institutional deterioration. Chair, colleagues, according to the organization Foro Penal, whose representatives are here today, Gladys Andrade and Isabel Haed, and in constitution with Alfredo Romero, their director, well, since 8 January 2026, only 143 political prisoners have been released. Nonetheless, as of today, Venezuela still has 777 political prisoners. Behind these figures are painful stories. One of the attorneys for Foro Penal, who was detained, and Mirlane Benedites, who was tortured when pregnant, lost her child and is in a wheelchair today, having been sentenced to 30 years. Gabriel Rodriguez, less than He was younger than 17 years old, is serving a 10-year term because of what was found on his phone. Another woman gave birth in prison. She is the wife of a 71-year-old educator, or the mother rather, was taken hostage to pressure the child. A diabetic person received a 20-year sentence, violating the law that does not allow for elderly persons to be in prison. So these figures are not statistics, they're human beings with stories and lives and facts. The Republic of Panama values the recent releases, but these should be understood as first steps. So long as there are persons who are being arbitrarily detained, the hemispheric community cannot consider that the situation has been overcome. The release of all political prisoners is essential for any normalization, democratic normalization. Chair, my country continues to follow the situation of Olmedo Nunez, a Panamanian citizen who has been under custody in Venezuela for more than 7 months. President José Raúl Molina Quintero has taken democratic initiatives, and we're awaiting his release, recalling the importance of timely consular access. Finally, the Republic of Panama recalls that any release should be peaceful, democratic, and headed up by the Venezuelans with the responsible accompaniment of this organization. There can be no genuine transition without democratic legitimacy, nor legitimacy without respect for the will of the people. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ambassador. I now give the floor to Colombia. Thank you, Chair. As this is the first time that I am taking the floor in this regular session, allow me to welcome the permanent representatives of Haiti and Peru and to wish them the best of success in their new positions. I'd also like to thank express gratitude for the inclusion of this item on the agenda and thank the commissioners for their remarks. Colombia is closely following the situation in Venezuela, the impact on human rights. Democracy in Latin America cannot be considered complete so long as there are persons deprived of their liberty for political reasons because of thinking differently or exercising their rights. As our President Gustavo Petro has indicated, the existence of political prisoners shows the authoritarianism of persons in government who have lost popular support but want to stay in power. Here, democracy is replaced by imposition. Our country has insisted on the need to guarantee respect for human rights, due process, and the presumption of innocence of Colombian nationals who have been arbitrarily detained in Venezuela. Colombia welcomes the announcement of the release of Venezuelans and foreigners being released in Venezuela. This is a significant step in seeking peace and unity in Venezuela. We urge the Venezuelan authorities to step up the release of our fellow nationals who were arbitrarily detained and who have not had due process guarantees, contact with their families, or access to consular assistance. And this is a violation of the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations. Arbitrary detentions cannot persist, or lack of judicial guarantees, or the lack of clear information about the situation of many persons who have been deprived of liberty. The liberty of those who have been detained for political reasons cannot depend on discretional gestures, political moments, or be treated as a concession. Rather, this is a fundamental right that is inherent to all persons. Colombia states its support for a possible visit by the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights to Venezuela under mutually agreed upon terms. The objective being to directly evaluate on the ground the human rights situation and to make recommendations geared to effectively protect them so as to benefit the population of Venezuela. The current situation in Venezuela evidences the urgency of a broad, inclusive, genuine dialogue among all social and political forces of the country. As our president has noted, sovereignty exists not only when sovereignty only exists when there is a people united who are participating actively in the decisions that govern them. We reiterate our call to Venezuela to return to the Inter-American human rights system, which all democracies of the region bear debt to. Colombia urges all of the countries of the hemisphere to continue monitoring the situation of human rights in Venezuela and to do so proactively, particularly as regards processes of persons being released from prison. In the context of the 61st session of the Human Rights Council of the United Nations, Colombia participated in presenting the report of the working group on arbitrary detentions or arrests, in which it highlighted the duty of all states to ensure that situations of freedom are all in line with international human rights law. In that context, we also expressed our concern over the situation in Venezuela and the reports by Colombians who've been deprived of liberty in that country. These cases have been the subject of diplomatic gestures at the highest level, and they require urgent attention on the part of the Venezuelan authorities. Colombia reiterates that the situation in Venezuela should be resolved exclusively by peaceful means, through negotiation, dialogue, and respect for the will of the Venezuelan people. Democracy cannot be built from fear or from the depriving of rights. Rather, it's through participation, inclusion, and full respect for human rights. This is why we reiterate our commitment to cooperation, multilateralism, and regional consensus building so as to strengthen national dialogue processes and democratic reconciliation in Venezuela with guarantees, popular participation, and respect for human dignity. Colombia is on the side of freedom of the people and of respect and guaranteeing human rights and democracy in Venezuela and throughout the hemisphere. Thank you very much. Thank you. I now give the floor to Costa Rica.
Thank you very much, Chair of the Permanent Council, Secretary General Ramdin, ASG Laura Gil, distinguished permanent representatives, observers, delegates. Costa Rica supports the request to include this item on the order of business for today's session, and we are very grateful for the initiative. Ambassador Carlos Chernik, head of the permanent mission of Argentina to the OAS, as well as all member states that have joined that request. We salute the presence in the room of the Executive Secretary of the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, Dr. Tania Renon, and we are grateful for the participation that we've had virtually from Commissioner Gloria Monique de Mis, the rapporteur for Venezuela, and Commissioner Edgar Estuardo Ralón Orellana, the second vice chair and rapporteur on the rights of persons deprived of liberty and for the prevention and fight against torture at the ICHR. Chair. The situation of political prisoners in Venezuela has been widely documented by the Inter-American human rights system. That includes the Inter-American Court of Human Rights as well as the Commission, including recent statements and precautionary measures issued by the ICHR. We particularly value the ability to hear the update presented to us by Commissioner Mays and Commissioner Ralón. This is a clear, resounding message. Human dignity cannot be suspended nor negotiated. Chair. For Costa Rica, protecting human rights and monitoring the situation of political prisoners is a priority in the framework of this organization. Additionally, we have taken note of the Communiqué 007/26 issued by the ICHR and published on January 13th last, in which we are reminded that any process for democratic recovery must be developed with full respect for international law. We agree that observing the principles of the OAS Charter and the United Nations Charter is essential for effective protection of human rights and in order to avoid further worsening the situation. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much. Guatemala is recognized. Thank you very much, Chair. On behalf of my delegation, please allow me to congratulate you for having assumed the chairmanship of the Permanent Council for this period, and we are fully willing to work alongside you and wish you most success in your new responsibilities. Similarly, my delegation would like to thank the proposing delegations for including this item on the order of business, given the relevance and sensitivity of this topic that brings us together today. As we have stated on many different occasions, the situation of political prisoners in Venezuela continues to be a reason for concern to be monitored by the international community, particularly given its implications for respect for human rights and democracy. We believe that the release of all political prisoners would be a significant and constructive step forward toward rebuilding trust and strengthening democratic institutionality in Venezuela. Measures like this can contribute to building conditions that are more forgiving for dialogue and national reconciliation, as well as seeking out peaceful solutions that respond to the legitimate aspirations of the people of Venezuela. In this context, we recognize the valuable work carried out by the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, particularly its technical support and its role in promoting and protecting human rights and the rule of law, as well as fundamental guarantees in the region. We believe that it is necessary for the ICHR to carry out an in situ visit in Venezuela in order to take note directly of the human rights violations that have taken place over the last several years. Guatemala reiterates the importance of states cooperating in full and constructively in inter-American system mechanisms as a show of commitment to the principles that bring us together as a hemisphere. Chair, the Guatemalan government recognizes the conclusions included in the report from the Commission in 2025 with regard to the various serious human rights violations in Venezuela, and we call on the international community to act in the face of the very serious human rights crisis in that country, to remain vigilant in the face of new repressive escalations, and to employ any institutional diplomatic measures in order to promote the return of democracy in that country. The ICHR also notes the systematic abuse of human rights defenders, such as persecution, lawfare, arbitrary detention, torture, and restrictions on freedom of expression. And we must also investigate violations that took place during protests and protect civil and individual rights, as well as provide precautionary measures for those at risk, and reiterate the court's competence for monitoring the situation in the country. The Guatemalan country hopes that the criminalization of the opposition ends, that they respect fundamental freedoms, that they promote strengthening of justice institutions, and open, genuine, inclusive dialogue as essential tools for moving forward toward lasting solutions. Cooperation and mutual understanding continue to be indispensable tools for addressing the challenges that have affected our people. With that in mind, we urge you to continue carrying out actions and measures to contribute to build trust, consolidate democratic institutionality, and ensure full respect for human rights to promote peace, stability, and the well-being of the region. Thank you very much.
Gracias a usted, embajadora.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Canada, please. Thank you very much, Chair. Canada, first of all, would like to express its gratitude to Madame Demise and Mr. Rallone for the update presented today, as well as for their ongoing efforts aimed at defending human rights in Venezuela, particularly in the region of the Americas. While the recent developments are certainly a critical turning point for Venezuela, and it's important for us to continue to work hand in hand with our regional and international partners to support any efforts aimed at promoting and protecting human rights in Venezuela. The de facto regime in Venezuela does not have democratic legitimacy and is responsible for countless human rights violations, particularly the arbitrary detention of hundreds of political dissidents and the emigration of millions of Venezuelans throughout the Americas. And the UN has noted the arbitrary detention of over 2,000 people, including over 84 foreign citizens, as well as the persecution of opposition figures.
That the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights has carried out over the last 25 years in monitoring the human rights situation in Venezuela. Canada joins the IACHR's call for the full guarantee of the human rights of the Venezuelan people, and it shares its deep concerns over the situation of persons deprived of liberty for political reasons or dissent. We welcome as well the release of a relatively small number of political prisoners in Venezuela over the last few days. However, we remain greatly concerned in light of reports indicating that these represent only a small fraction of those arbitrarily detained. We are also concerned that conditions have been imposed upon many of those released, including travel restrictions, reporting requirements, and additional judicial procedures. We therefore echo the IACHR's as well as the UN's messages urging the Venezuelan regime to immediately and unconditionally release all persons who remain deprived of liberty for political reasons, with priority to those in conditions of vulnerability, and to altogether cease the use of arbitrary detention as a tool of persecution. We also call for greater transparency through the process in order to allow for independent verification of those released. Canada reiterates its call for the Venezuelan regime to permit in-local visits of the IACHR and the International Fact-Finding Mission in order to directly assess and facilitate reporting on human rights institutions and the situation in Venezuela. Canada continues to hope for and offer its support to a Venezuelan-led return to full democratic governance with rule of law and respect for human rights. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Gracias.
Thank you, Ambassador. Ecuador is recognized. Antigua and Barbuda today called on all of us to recover this sense of urgency. Also, there have been calls to recover the sense of the cross-cutting nature of the situation, to recover democracy relevance. And we have heard you, but I would like to begin by stating that Ecuador does not have political prisoners. Chair, Secretary General, Madam ASG, to the entire panel, thank you to the human rights experts who have updated us on the situation in Venezuela and the reality. There are structural patterns of human rights violations that have been broadly documented by the IACHR as well as other international mechanisms. The Republic of Ecuador hopes that we are able to turn this around with broad collaboration also from Venezuelan civil society. According to the Independent International Mission of Determination of the Facts on Venezuela with regard to the release of prisoners, they continue to receive reports of armed colectivos who are patrolling entire cities, intimidating the population, and carrying out inspections and searching phones, as well as reports of new detentions of individuals who simply express their political opinions. I would like to underscore that it is true that in building any democracy, we also must look at the structural components noted in Articles 3 and 4 of the Democratic Charter for when they exist. And we have learned of the existence of partial releases. We've already heard from some of the state's representatives, and the impossibility of having a single verified list of prisoners, and there are no objective indicators in order to determine the actual nature of any prisoner, whether they were deprived of liberty for political reasons or not. And so we see that they are not fulfilling the most minimum humanist obligations in which they need to be working during this period of stabilization and national reconciliation. We urge for this to happen as soon as possible and to establish as a condition for this stabilization the mechanisms for security in order to ensure legal guarantees for anyone who is detained. Political prisoners are individuals who have been arbitrarily detained because they expressed political dissidence, defended democracy, or simply because they opposed authoritarian practices. They represent the fight for freedom and justice, and their imprisonment is a direct attack on the fundamental principles of the Inter-American Democratic Charter, including politicians imprisoned for corruption with political prisoners is a slap in the face to political prisoners. We see these citizens and political prisoners are not only silenced in their voices and criticism, but this is a cycle of repression that undermines regional stability and respect for human dignity, as has already been stated. Our response must be focused on providing protection for victims and promoting independent mechanisms to verify their release and ensure their safety. We urge an immediate end to the practice of attacking human dignity, that we see support for the impacted families with international support in order to restore justice without considering any repressive structures as valid. This is what the hemisphere needs. The Republic of Ecuador, Chair, asks that we pay special attention to these people who are in vulnerable situations, as well as those who have additional vulnerability in that deprivation of freedom. We ask for special attention to one of our citizens, an Ecuadorian citizen. We will provide any pertinent documentation, as well as for any female political prisoners. There are many. Remember that women who are detained in Latin America have often faced vulnerability because they are a minority in any liberation processes. So we ask that this situation be a priority and that we act with a sense of urgency and pertinence, transparency, and historic transcendence. We can't see this gender approach in any other way, in concrete steps, in concrete cases, given the very serious impacts on family and the history of women that have been caused by every single one of these cases that we are working to duly record. We are taught that silence is not passive, but rather an active presence where maintain hope for a democratic life in Venezuela alive. And in this work, this is a post-apocalyptic work which teaches us that sometimes silence is the only way to keep that hope alive. Thank you very much.
Gracias a usted, embajador.
Thank you, Ambassador. I'd like to announce that as we conclude this item on the agenda, we will be taking a break until 2:30. Italy, please.
Gracias.
Thank you very much, Chair, Secretary General, Madam Assistant Secretary General. The topic that brings us together today, at the urging of Antigua, Barbuda, and Argentina, Bolivia, Canada, Costa Rica, Paraguay, Peru, and the Dominican Republic, is of particular relevance. First of all, we would like to thank all of these speakers for their interventions, and we have taken due note. We also thank the delegations that spoke before us today. From a national perspective, we have been working and note the liberation of 5 Italian citizens from Venezuelan prisons last week, and we note that releasing all political prisoners is just an initial step toward national reconciliation and international stabilization. We hope that those who remain in prison for political reasons, including still many Italian citizens, are able to soon join their families and loved ones. We trust in the expression of good faith expressed on January 8th, and we hope that this will happen with as much celerity as possible. Thank you very much, Chair. Ambassador, thank you very much. France, thank you very much, Chair. Secretary General, ladies and gentlemen, Madam ASG, Secretary General, permanent observers. Thank you very much for the ICHR for its very edifying report on the situation of political prisoners in Venezuela. France salutes the release over the last several days of Venezuelan political prisoners as well as foreign citizens. This is a positive sign and relief for those affected and their families. France calls on Venezuela's authorities to end any unfair and arbitrary detention and to also release any foreign and binational citizens without delay and without conditions, to release all political prisoners immediately. We fully support the message shared along these lines by the Secretary General of this organization. Releasing all political prisoners is indispensable for building a climate of trust and a peaceful transition with international law, principles of democracy, and human rights being fully respected. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The permanent observer of Portugal is recognized. Thank you very much, Chair, Secretary General. Portugal would like to echo the voices expressed by other member states and permanent observers with regard to the situation underway in Venezuela. We are focused on the country's future and restoring full democracy in which Venezuelans are able to freely determine their own future. Against that backdrop, Portugal would like to strongly and staunchly urge the swift, unconditional release of all political prisoners in that country. Their release is sine qua non for a process of national reconciliation with full respect for human rights. Releasing citizens who were detained arbitrarily because they expressed their opinion or for political reasons represents an ethical and democratic imperative that the appropriate authorities in Venezuela must respect without reserve. Thank you very much, Chair.
Gracias.
Thank you very much. And Secretary General Albert Ramdin has the floor.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, distinguished permanent representatives, permanent observers, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Assistant Secretary General Laura Hill. Much has been said already on this important topic. I thank the member states who requested this meeting. I want to say that we continue to express appreciation to member states, and in all the statements we heard that, for the concern they have regarding the human rights situation in Venezuela. And I want to thank specifically the Inter-American Human Rights Commission, especially the rapporteurs Gloria de Meis and Edgardo Ralón, for their submissions today, as they have done before as well. I want to highlight that the imprisonment of people, of persons for political motives in the Americas has been an issue of attention within the Inter-American system for decades. It's not something new. It's regrettable that this is still a fact. I want to emphasize that in the specific case of Venezuela, the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights has maintained and sustained a sustained concern, which why I strongly supported the importance of an in-loco visit during the Permanent Council sessions of October 8 last year and January 6th today. I urge Venezuelan authorities present to allow for that visit to take place. Mr. Chairman, based on our principles and values, which we all have adopted collectively and supported, I must state unequivocally that in the Americas, in our own region where there is peace and a democratic process, that there can be no imprisonment for simply thinking differently. That is simply not acceptable. Repression of any kind must be rejected and condemned in the most strongest possible way, period. There is no negotiation on that. In addition to the recognition and support to the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, the General Secretariat has been meeting with various organizations over the past weeks that monitor the situation of political prisoners in Venezuela. Specifically, we have been provided information from organizations such as Foro Penal and the Committee for the Freedom of Political Prisoners, from whom we have learned about their methodologies and the information they collect, similar to what the Human Rights Commission has shared with us. Mr. Chairman, distinguished representative, as we have publicly stated over the past weeks now already 3 times, yesterday was the last time, we welcome the liberation of the political prisoners that have taken place in Venezuela. We welcome that. But it's absolutely not sufficient because we still have hundreds others still in prison. So we continue to urge authorities in Venezuela to expedite the release. And I must say, it is not only for reasons of humanitarian law, but also for political reasons, to show that they are ready to engage on a process to political stability. It's a good sign if they would do that, for political stability and democracy. A process of transition, as we have spoken before about, must be Venezuelan-led and with support of the hemispheric member states, to the benefit, ultimately, of the Venezuelan people. And we have stated before that the role of the Secretariat, the General Secretariat, is to support the peaceful, constructive, and future development of the peoples and states of the Americas, in full respect of the principles which we have collectively embraced. For this reason, the General Secretariat stands ready to assist, to build bridges, facilitate agreements, monitor processes, and support solutions, including the electoral process. It is in this context that we speak with different representatives on all sides to understand better where the mindset is to facilitate such a process going forward, to the benefit, again, of the Venezuelan people. I thank you very much.
Gracias, señor secretario.
Thank you very much to the Secretary General, and thank you very much to the Commissioners, Demise and Ralón, for the interventions today. We have taken due note both of the information that you provided as well as the interventions from the various states that took part in this debate. As we had stated earlier, we are now suspending the session, and we will come back at 2:30 on the dot. Thank you very much.